risk-free home trial with free shipping and money-back guarantee. The Atom X is lightweight, rechargeable, practically invisible, and costs 90% less than prescription hearing aids. Don't miss out. Call 800-741-HERE for complete details. That's 800-741-4327. Hearing for everyone. Audien Hearing.
Good morning, everyone. Mark Rosenthal with you on this Wednesday. Here's what's happening for today. Morning sun and some clouds this afternoon. It will be milder. Temperatures in the lower 50s. Certainly get out and enjoy it. Mainly cloudy overnight. Mild temperatures about 44. Slight chance of a shower. Tomorrow, variable clouds, maybe a little sun. It'll be windy and mild, 60 to 65 degrees. Chance of showers tomorrow night. And on Friday, rain ending early, followed by partial clearing, windy, along with falling temperatures. That's my forecast. I'm Mark Rosenthal.
Hey parents, you don't need the latest gizmo, slang, or clothes to be a perfect parent, because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you. For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Adopt Us Kids and the ad.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Jake Auchincloss are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
As a busy mom, my to-do list is full.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
Visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
As you navigate life after divorce, planning for your family's future becomes even more important. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. From everyday expenses to thinking about how college will be funded, it's important to have a clear plan for how all of your upcoming costs will be handled over time. Divorce also means adjusting to a new financial reality, where one household becomes two and your budget, saving strategy, and long-term goals may need to be reevaluated. Our new guide is called Divorce and Your Financial Plan, and it discusses ways to build a financial strategy that supports your family's next chapter. You can get your free guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today, we're talking about the use of life estates and your primary residence. Todd, what are the pitfalls associated with creating a life estate when you transfer the remainder interest to your children?
Yeah, this is the most common way people create life estates. It seems easy, it seems simple, but it's not the best way to create a life estate. Once you put your children's name on the deed, you give up a lot of control. Like you can't change your mind later if you want to leave it to one child versus another who might be taking care of you later. You have problems if you want to go to sell it, right? You might have the right to live there, but if you want to go to sell it, you're going to need the permission of the children in order to sign off on the remainder interest of the deed. And then even if they do sell it and you get their permission, a larger chunk of the proceeds are going to end up in the hands of the child rather than you. That creates adverse income tax consequences to the child. Plus, you who sold the house might need the money to buy another house or a downsized house or move, all of which create problems. Never mind creditor problems for the children while they're living. Folks, don't do the life estate this way because it seems to create more trouble than it's worth.
Learn how you can avoid probate, eliminate estate taxes, keep your money in your family, and protect your assets from the nursing home. Request this brand new guide from Cushing & Dolan. It's called Calculating the Consequences of a Life Estate. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can simply request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
Chuck, Paul, and Tucker with you here, and we kick things off with, again, all eyes continuing to be on the Middle East and the status of things between the United States and Iran. And look, I take the most boring approach to this, which again is the one that allows me to maintain the most sanity, which is simply to say, when it comes to anything diplomatic in this situation, I have no idea what's going on, and I'm not going to react to every single headline that comes out because there are reasons for different constituencies, both in the United States and in Iran and throughout the world, to say completely different things. If you listen to some media outlets and some media releases, you get, hey, we're going to have boots on the ground this weekend, and like this, the further escalation is guaranteed. If you listen to other, media reports and things like that, the United States has already won, and like the deal is going to be done in the next day or two. Okay, it's possible. If you listen to what's coming out of Iranian, media, we're never going to have a ceasefire. We're going to escalate the conflict and continue to, make it more and more painful for the United States. You listen to, other Middle Eastern media, whether it's, Al Jazeera and other, outfits in that region, and you get completely different, views that are expressed. And it comes back to, I think it was, Tucker, was it the last episode of season 1 of The Sopranos or second to last, the Nobody Knows Anything episode?
I'll look it up.
It's one of those. It's either episode 10 or maybe 11. I can't remember how many episodes per season The Sopranos had, but it was
season 1, episode 11.
Yeah, you're right.
There you go. Thank you very much. Nobody knows anything. Tony's trying to figure out like what's going on within his crew, and there's messages being passed back and forth, and just has no idea what's actually going on. And that's where we are right now, and it's okay to admit that. And so my view is, look, it's not sticking your head in the sand and not paying attention to anything that's going on, but it's understanding that communication from any group involved or around this conflict is going to be skewed based on what they want to present. And so rather than looking at what people are saying, I say it doesn't matter what they're saying. And I've been very consistent on this for a while. It doesn't matter what anyone's saying. The only thing that matters is what is actually, what is actually happening. And specifically, like, what actions are being taken. And here's where we stand right now, as of this morning, in my opinion. The Strait of Hormuz remains almost entirely closed. We have seen a little bit of an uptick in traffic going through it.
Some commercial ships, right?
In that we've gone from, 0 to 3 ships a day up to maybe 5 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-conflict, we were running 120 to 130 a day. But it does appear that Iran is saying, hey, we want to, we're allowing additional transits through, and you've got to follow this certain path, and we may or may not take a toll from you each time, and so on and so forth. So is that enough to represent a material change? I don't know that it's enough yet to say, that you're going to resolve this, because you're still, 95% off in terms of transits. But there's a slight uptick in volume going through. Not enough to actually matter, though, and so Hormuz, for all practical purposes, remains closed. The other piece of information that we know, the two sides continue to lob missiles, bombs, and all kinds of other stuff back and forth at each other, drones.
Mm-hmm.
Israel remains very actively involved as well, indicating that they struck Tehran with a number of different waves of attacks this morning. We also have additional U.S. Troops inbound to the region, both that have been tasked via ship. The USS Tripoli is set to enter the region on Friday. And you've also, yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, had the reports of the 82nd Airborne being airlifted into the region over the last couple weeks as well, potentially in preparations for missions into Iran. Again, you're not talking the scale of forces necessary for a large-scale ground invasion or anything like that, but potentially some smaller missions that could be attempted. And so I think that in looking at the totality of kind of what we have here, it ultimately paints a picture where the disruptions to energy and other commodity markets remain intense and growing every single day.
Mm-hmm.
There is no clear sign that hostilities are abating, and in fact, there is the potential for them to increase. But I do think it's pretty clear that at least through intermediaries, there are messages that are being shared between the United States and Iran, and we can hope that maybe those work out some kind of solution in the near future, but I don't think that's assured either.
No, and the way market's reacting this morning, we've got most of the major indices in positive territory, with the S&P up about 0.6% and the NASDAQ up 1%. The headlines here, and again, like Chuck mentioned opening the show, take them with a grain of salt, was that markets are rallying on this idea that at least the U.S. seems to be telegraphing its intention to try and resolve this war within the near term here. That's how I'll sort of paint it. Oil markets, we do have West Texas Intermediate off about 4%, down at $88 a barrel, and Brent came down 4% as well to around $100 a barrel. So those are what the market reactions are. Like you said, I really don't have much more to add to the ongoing situation. It's just something that we have to continue to follow. But the longer this lingers on, and we've mentioned this before, the more significant the impacts are. And also, I think it is important to note that even if there were to be a deal struck within the course of the next 3 to 5 days or week, it would still take several weeks and perhaps months to kind of get everything flowing back through at that pace that you were referring to before. And that can't be discounted here when you look at the economic impact.
Yeah, as it stands right now, we're looking at, as of today, you've got somewhere in the ballpark of 300 million barrels of oil that have been displaced, and that's kind of the deficit that you're running as a result of this conflict. For each day that it drags on, you're talking about another 10 million barrels and change. Could be a little less, could be a little more, depending on exactly how things are moving. And that means that, again, each day that this goes on, that actual supply situation is going to worsen. To this point, it's been mitigated largely through supplies that are already on the water, where you had a little bit of a glut heading into this. but it's not a situation where you're sitting here saying that this can continue indefinitely. And certainly if we start talking about situations where, this is still the status quo later into the spring or into the summer, you get some pretty devastating responses. And quite honestly, some of the stuff that's showing up is getting pretty gnarly already. Just as an example, this came out from Dow Chemical yesterday. This was yesterday. It's a letter from Dow Specialty Plastics, which is a subunit of Dow Chemical, dated March 24th. Dear valued customer, the Dow Chemical Company and Dow Chemical Canada ULC will modify the previously announced 15-cent per pound price increase to 30 cents per pound for all HDPE, LLDPE, and LDPE resins sold in the United States and Canada. So if you're not familiar with what that is, you're not alone. Lots of us had to Google this yesterday. And basically what this is, these are different forms of polyethylene. That's what the PE stands for in here. High density, low density, and so on. These resins. If you're not sure what polyethylene goes into, the answer is basically any kind of packaging that exists that is plastic has some form of polyethylene in it, and there's all kinds of other uses for it as well. It goes into some construction materials, medical supplies, things like that, so it goes everywhere. To put these price hikes in perspective, you are talking about a 60 to 70% price increase from the baseline that goes into this. And this is, again, Dow Chemical had previously indicated earlier this week, guys, we don't even know if we can get half of what we need for our full polyethylene supply. So these are things that are starting to seep in as well, and we'll see how this develops, but the impacts are going to start to be felt in the coming month or two on the inflationary side, just because first thing that happens, suppliers raise prices, then your middlemen raise prices, then your end buyers raise prices, and then finally your users end up having to pay the higher prices, and it takes time for that to seep through the system. But ultimately, at least in the short term, there's going to be an inflationary impulse that comes of this. How long and how big that impulse is going to be determined by how long the conflict goes and how widespread it is, and then the magnitude of damage within it. So we're still in the same situation from where we were 3 weeks ago, which is tell me how long the conflict's going to be, how widespread it's going to be, and how devastating the damage is, and then you can actually talk about, the full economic impact. We still don't know fully because it's still ongoing. But we'll see if things improve, and again, maybe there's some progress being made. I don't know, and we will continue to, watch things here. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about let's talk about this. Wall Street trying to price in recession odds. Always love when they do that. We'll discuss that when we return.
The Financial Exchange streams every day live on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and follow the markets all morning long. Only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
As you navigate life after divorce, planning for your family's future becomes even more important. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. From everyday expenses to thinking about how college will be funded, it's important to have a clear plan for how all of your upcoming costs will be handled over time. Divorce also means adjusting to a new financial reality, where one household becomes two and your budget, saving strategy, and long-term goals may need to be reevaluated. Our new guide is called Divorce and Your Financial Plan, and it discusses ways to build a financial strategy that supports your family's next chapter. You can get your free guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Life estates are sometimes used to protect your home as part of your future, but it's important to understand how they really work before making any changes to your estate plan. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation. Their new guide, called Calculating the Consequences of Life Estates, explains the pros and cons and why careful planning is so critical. A life estate can allow you to remain in your home while transferring future ownership. But decisions like putting the property in your children's names versus using a trust can have very different consequences when it comes to taxes, control, and protection from creditors. Before you sign any deed or transfer property, be sure you understand your options. Call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 and ask for your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Jake Auchincloss are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Daily financial content in your feed when you want it. Follow the Financial Exchange on Instagram. This is the Financial Exchange.
Peace and CNBC here. Recession odds climb on Wall Street as economy shows cracks beneath the surface. Ah, yes, if there's anything that Wall Street is good at doing, it is good at predicting recessions. Not. I'm sorry. They're not good at it, and they do all this stuff where they're like, again, here's the crap that you have to like read through. Moody's Analytics model has raised its recession outlook for the next 12 months to 48.6%. Tell me where the 0.6% comes from, Paul.
It's been a rough couple weeks.
How can... Here's the thing, Paul. Here's the thing. In the United States, in the last 100 years, there have been maybe a dozen recessions. How can you, from there, somehow have a model that is predictive to 1 decimal point of accuracy, given that these things don't happen frequently enough to be able to have anywhere near that level of accuracy to begin with? I think, quite honestly, the closest that I would feel comfortable, and the only place that I'd feel comfortable even, like, talking about this, and quite honestly, I think it's a crappy prediction thing to get into anyways, I think if you're not willing to raise your recession odds by at least 25%, you're not being honest. Like, okay, I've seen some of this stuff where it's like, oh, so-and-so raised their recession odds from 25 to 30%. That's not a real shift. That's not actually telling you anything, because these things don't happen frequently enough for that to actually matter. If you're not willing to say, hey, the odds of recession have gone from like 20% to 50%, you're not telling me anything, and even then, I still think you're not really telling me anything.
The three kind of economic predictions or indicators that you get when you listen to all these analysts out there from Moody's or Goldman or whatever you look at, that I just have learned over time to put really no weighting in is one, every year end when they're asked to pick their target for the S&P 500 for the next year, it's a total shot in the dark. Second, with targets for individual stocks, again, that one can actually be a little bit more, some validity to it because they'll assign a multiple to earnings and things like that. But oftentimes you find them moving up as the stock goes up and moving down as the stock goes down. They're kind of constantly readjusting their targets based on what's going on. Similar to what we're seeing right here. The third one that you just hit on is this odds of a recession. They're adjusting it as things are going on gradually just to try and hope to steer that they're in a closer to right direction. But ultimately, the big constant is that nobody knows whether it's the target for the S&P 500, what it's going to end this year, or the recession probabilities. That all those numbers and assigning a percentage is just is not the way to approach it. Now, it is still important to constantly measure the things that go into what can assess a recession, whether that's looking at inflationary pressure, the labor market, everything that we're seeing from earnings on companies and AI, all that kind of stuff. That's still a job of an economist or anyone who follows the market on a daily basis. But picking these probabilities, and maybe it's just something that there's a kind of proverbial gun to their head that they have to have these things in place. It really doesn't do you a lot of good.
I'm almost willing to say, look, anyone who's trying to assess recession odds, there really should only be three places that you land. There's a 10% chance, meaning you think it's really unlikely. There's a 50% chance, meaning I don't know what's going to happen. And there's a 90% chance, meaning you think it's almost certain. Beyond that, like, what's the difference between, like, a 75 and 80% chance of recession? Or a 25 and a 30% chance? What do I actually do with that information? It's fundamentally useless, and I think for the most part, fear-mongering. Because here's the other thing that I will say. Do we ever get pieces, like, when things are improving, do we ever get pieces that are published in any, financial media saying,
we are back?
Hey, so-and-so, no, not we're back, but we do get those. Do we ever get the pieces published that say, like, hey, so-and-so cut their recession odds from 30 to 20?
No, I don't see those.
I've never seen that piece published. The ones that I get are, recession odds climb on Wall Street as economy shows cracks beneath the surface. Well, first of all, how can you show cracks beneath the surface? If they're beneath the surface, they're not showing.
No one can see them.
Exactly. Beyond that, no one publishes the, hey, like, we've downgraded our odds of recession. Well, you don't get those pieces published because everyone needs to be scared all the time,
I can confirm
man.
that. I can confirm that.
Tucker, who's had reps of sorting through millions of articles.
Tucker's read every Wall Street Journal article in the last 10 years.
Recession odds go down. Nope, never seen it.
Does not exist. So this is the other thing is, like, I'm not saying that recession will or will not happen. Eventually, there's always another one. What I'm saying is, don't let the man get you down, man.
Do we even get pieces, just generally speaking, that the economy is about to just roar and just go crazy and perform really well?
We do get those.
I feel like, though, it's been such a long time that I feel like we're always dealing with some concern.
We get a ton of those. Like the two times that I can remember getting them, we got a bunch at the beginning, like right after the election in 24.
That's true.
We got a ton of those. And the other time that we got those was like early 21, like right as you were starting to see like the reopening, like the post-COVID.
Yeah.
You had them like those times
that
where
one
it's
I
like,
definitely remember.
Hey, there's all this money and pent-up demand. So like I have seen a few of those in the last couple of years, but you never get like recession odds downgraded. It's just, like, can they only keep going up then?
Because no one's going to click on that one.
Yep.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
They're going to see and go, scroll.
Or they'll see it and go, you guys are wrong, man. Like, I'm still so scared. I can't read that right now. It's just, again, sometimes you just got to take a step back and be like, hey, I don't know if there's going to be a recession, and what am I, like, there's nothing I can do with that piece, and that's fine. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we got Wall Street Watch. We got Todd Lutzke. That's all coming up after this.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Lori Trahan are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit goredforwomen.org today to learn more.
Protecting your home at the Life Estate can be problematic if you don't understand the rules. Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Calculating the Consequences of Life Estates can help you learn about how this strategy works and what to consider. Call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 and get your guide today. Or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
This is Mike Armstrong and Paul Lane from the Armstrong Advisory Group out with our brand new guide for the month of March about divorce and your financial plan. And certainly while it's not the path that anybody hopes to go down with their marriage, many marriages do result in this, and it results in a full reformatting of their financial scenario. Now, Paul, understanding these different assets that ultimately need to get divided in the event of a divorce gets pretty complicated. So let's start with the basics when you're thinking about retirement assets versus the home versus, say, a checking account. How does one need to be thinking about these different buckets of money when they're talking about the equitable division of assets in a divorce?
Yeah, Mike, first you have to divide out those different assets into those buckets you were alluding to before: pre-tax retirement savings, real estate, as well as after-tax investment accounts. And what you have to understand is with the pre-tax retirement savings accounts, there are taxes and potentially penalties associated with those. So those assets are not equal to perhaps some money in a bank account, for example, that is much easier to access and withdraw. Same thing with real estate. Equity might be significant in a property, but there are a lot of carrying costs and expenses associated with that ownership.
Yeah, these things are complicated, and unfortunately, what it can lead to if you're not prepared for it is a division of assets that doesn't work out in your favor once you consider the after-tax implications of that division. If you have questions that you're facing as you head towards this life move, get your copy of our new guide, Divorce and Your Financial Plan. It's available by calling us at 800 800-393-4001. Again, it's the free guide, Divorcing Your Financial Plan, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch, tracking the stocks, the data, and the headlines driving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets trading higher with cautious optimism that the U.S. and Iran may be inching closer to a possible resolution after the U.S. sent Iran a 15-point plan to end the war. Right now, the Dow is up 0.8% or 369 points higher. S&P 500 also up 0.8% or 54 points higher. NASDAQ up 1.28% or 279 points. Russell 2000 up nearly 1.5%. 10-year Treasury yield down 6 basis points at 4.332%. And oil pulling back over 3.5%, trading right around $89 a barrel. Home builder KB Home cut its fiscal year guidance, citing ongoing difficult housing market conditions. As for its previous quarter, the company missed earnings and revenue expectations, sending that stock down by 5%. Meanwhile, shares in chipmaker ARM Holdings rallying nearly 15% after the company unveiled its first in-house chip, saying it would generate $15 billion in revenue by 2031. Elsewhere, Chewy stock surging 15% after the pet product and service company reported a better-than-expected EBITDA for the fourth quarter, but its revenue fell just short of estimates. Merck agreed to buy biopharma company Terns Pharmaceuticals for $53 per share in cash, valuing the company at $6.7 billion. And according to the information, SpaceX could file for an IPO as soon as this week. EchoStar shares are rising 9% on the news as the satellite communications provider has a near 3% stake in SpaceX. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch.
This is Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you have an existing estate plan or are in the market for one, Todd Lutzke is here to answer your questions and help you plan for later life. Ask Todd is presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 35 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Visit CushingDolan.com. Now, here's Todd Lutzke.
Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan now joins us here. And he's here for Ask Todd, which is your chance to ask Todd your estate planning questions. And he'll answer them live on air, actually. Yes, that's right. He'll answer them live on air. Phone lines are wide open at 888-205-2263. That's the number to call to ask Todd your estate planning questions. Again, 888-205-2263. We can usually get through 2 or 3 of these puppies. So get on the horn and give us a call so that you can chat with Todd. Again, 888-205-2263 is the number. Mr. Lutzke, how's it going today?
You know, it's going never better. How are you doing?
Good.
Oh.
Came across something interesting the other day, though.
You always do.
Found a guy kayaking in my attic yesterday.
Kayaking in your attic?
Yeah, it turns out he was a ceiling rafter.
Oh, yeah. I guess so.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Todd, want to talk a little bit about irrevocable trusts. I know we've talked a lot about life estates the last couple weeks, and quite honestly, kind of tired of talking about them. I can't do life estates anymore.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to let you take this one away.
So I'm going to talk about kind of the other option that a lot of people consider instead of a life estate. Irrevocable trust. How much does the use of an irrevocable trust to protect an asset impact your day-to-day life versus a life estate? See, I brought it back to the life estate.
You did, and I'm going to connect the two for you, but thank you for that. So, you know, one of the things we talk about in this guide is the right way and the wrong way to do a life estate. But if you're going to do a life estate, I'll call it the less bad way, would be to take the remainder interest of a piece of property and give it to an irrevocable trust.
Okay.
See, connecting the two here. put it in an irrevocable trust. So if there are like 3 times in my guide that I recommend when you should use a life estate. And when you're going to use any of those 3 times involve an irrevocable trust. And folks, I think the great analogy and the question is spot on in the sense that what's the difference between just throwing the whole darn thing into an irrevocable trust versus a life estate? People think they give up control with a life estate, but think about how much control you give up with a life estate, right? So there's your compare and contrast. When you put the property in the hands of a child, you're going to have trouble selling it without their permission. You're going to have adverse capital gains tax consequences because the kids are going to get a big chunk of the money if they do agree to sell it. They don't get a capital gains exclusion when you go to sell the property because they don't live there. Again, back to the hoping you even get their permission to do it. And the biggest problem is you didn't get much of the money because there's an allocation based on your age that a large portion, depending on how old you are, goes to the kids. So now you don't even have the money you need to buy another house if you sell your house. So to me, when you think about irrevocable trusts and the word control, I would say with a life estate, if I'm not using an irrevocable trust, I've given up way more control than I would give up if I used an irrevocable trust. Because with an irrevocable trust, I put the remainder interest in their kid's name is not on the property. There's no completed gift. I don't need anyone's permission to sell the property. You still control the trustee. You still control the ability to sell it. You have no adverse capital gains tax when you go to sell it when it's in a grantor irrevocable trust. You get your entire capital gains exclusion offsetting the entire gain or a portion of the gain depending on how large it is. So there's no adverse tax consequences. And maybe most importantly, all the money's available to buy another house because most of it is in the irrevocable trust. And it doesn't even restart the 5-year waiting period. And your kids don't have there's no creditor issues with your kids getting divorced while you're alive. So great question, Chuck. And I hope you see the difference between life estates alone and irrevocable trusts.
Talking with Todd Lutzke from Cushing and Dolan. Still room on the phone lines at 888-205-2263. That is the number to call for your estate planning questions live with Todd right now. 888-205-2263. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we're going to get to those questions for Todd. Again, that phone number is 888-205-2263. And again, only have space for a couple. So one more time, that number is 888-205-2263.
Ask Todd with Todd Lutzke every Wednesday at 10:30, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Protecting your home with the life estate can be problematic if you don't understand the rules. Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Calculating the Consequences of Life Estates can help you learn about how this strategy works and what to consider. Call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 and get your guide today. Or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
When going through a divorce, understanding the rules around your finances can make a real difference. This is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. State law plays a major role in how assets are divided, whether that means a strict split or a distribution based on what the court considers fair. Health insurance and Social Security benefits are other considerations that you'll need to prepare for. You may have been covered under a spouse's plan and now need to find one of your own, and Social Security may offer benefits based on your former spouse's record. Our new guide, Divorce in Your Financial Plan, will walk you through these issues and more to help you make informed decisions that may affect your future. Call 800-393-4001 to request your free copy. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Ayanna Pressley are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Todd Lutzke answers your questions about estate and elder life planning every Wednesday at 10:30, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Talking with Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan. Reminder, if you've got questions for Todd, this is your chance to ask them live on air. 888-205-2263. We do still have a little bit of room on the phone lines here, so please get calling at 888-205-2263 to ask Todd your estate planning questions. Let's go first to Sean in Monson. Sean, what is your question for Todd?
Good morning, Todd, and good morning. I very much enjoyed, Todd, listening to your advice on this program.
Well,
my question to you is, I've been advised at one point to get a Medicare trust to protect our property from the nursing home.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, I hear you talk about irrevocable trusts very frequently, and I'm wondering, does the irrevocable cover in a Medicare situation, or can it, or are they two different things?
No, so yeah, you're right about the fact that you're saying you're kind of saying a Medicare trust when in reality what I think you're saying is, and there's no such a term, but Medicaid is what you're thinking about. I know they use the term so closely. Medicaid is what you want to be able to apply for when you're in a nursing home. And when you're in a nursing home, if the assets are in an irrevocable trust, and remember that, folks, there are many kinds of irrevocable trusts, and we do talk about different kinds of irrevocable trust, but we tend to spend a little more time, and you're right about this, on irrevocable Medicaid trusts. And yes, they are absolutely designed to protect assets from the cost of long-term care. In other words, you would take your home and quite frankly, maybe some of your other assets, depending on, what they are and whether it makes sense to put them in there, like money, investment portfolios. Now not qualified plan money, but other money into the trust. And then, 5 years from the time that you do this. If you get sick after that, you or your spouse get sick after that, then these assets that you put in there are like you don't own them. It looks to the nursing home like they're not yours. And then they would be, not available. When I say protected, I mean not available for the nursing home, not available to make you ineligible for Medicaid benefits or ineligible for the state to help pay for the nursing home costs. So you're spot on. These are the kinds of trusts that we talk about that will protect the asset from the cost of long-term care. And depending on the size of your estate, I think it probably makes sense for you to, sit down with an attorney and that does this and learn in more detail than I can give you on the radio how, in fact, they work and how much control you can keep and how you really, I can just tell you that they won't really disrupt your life, at all. And you'll still get this protection from the nursing home and avoidance of probate and, depending on the size of your estate, even a reduction from your Massachusetts estate tax liability. So hopefully that helps a little, and thanks for the kind words earlier. Folks, this approach, this irrevocable approach that we just talked about, I think might be better than the life estate, but a lot of people have them. They're not horrible. They do work. They do have benefits. There are pros and cons to life estates, but a lot of people have them, and that's why we did this guide, calculating the consequences of a life estate. Why? Because people have them, and it seems to be a quick fix. Not always great. Again, pros and cons. How much control do I give up? What can I do after I have it? Can I change my mind as to who gets it? Can I sell? Can I buy another house? What are the capital gains tax consequences? Folks, if you've got one of these life estates, call and get the guide and learn what you actually have. If you're thinking about getting one, call and get the guide so you can find out what they are before you decide to get one, and finally, how best to do them and when to do them. 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com. You can download the guide right there. Again, 866-848-5699. or legalexchangeshow.com. Or for more information, please go to our Instagram page, Cushing Dolan PC.
Todd, I got another one for you here. Let's go to Stacy in Peabody. Stacy, what is your question for Todd?
Hi, I have a question. So a parent died with property in a life estate, only gave it to one child.
Oh.
So that child wants to sell it but share the proceeds with their sibling.
Oh, now how nice is that?
Yeah. So what are the consequences for, tax implications for maybe even gift taxes or capital gains?
So great question. So let's explore this a little bit because I think it's good for everybody else as well, Stacy, to learn what was done here. So the parents actually were able to create this life estate arrangement where they took the property and they deeded it to child number one. And let's say there's 3 children. Deeded it to child number one. That's how they created it, and they reserved the right to live there. Now, we say there's a lot of negatives to this. Well, in this case, if 5 years had gone by, it actually protected it from the nursing home, as you folks may or may not have found out if your parent ever needed nursing home care. So that would have been plus. It is now going to avoid probate, so you should be finding that out right now. So that's a plus on this side. And I think the last piece, which goes to your point, Stacy, is it would have received a full step up in basis. So even though they gave away the property to one child and reserved the right to live there, now the full value of that property is includable in the estate for estate tax purposes. And provided the value of that property plus the other assets that they might have doesn't exceed $2 million, now there's no estate tax due, at least not en masse. And the child, in this case, child number one, received the property with a full step up in cost basis. And this is what goes to your point. Well, now the child wants to sell the property. So the child is automatically vested in 100% of the property the moment the parent died. That's another benefit of a life estate. But you're right, to the exclusion of the other children. So not entirely sure why mom would have wanted to disinherit or dad would have wanted to disinherit the other kids. But in effect, that's what was done. Nice part here, though, is we've got siblings who get along. Always so nice to see that. So in this case, can the child sell the property? Yes. Can the child then give money to the siblings? Yes, again. So what's the ramifications? One, child sells the property. Because of the full step up in basis, 0 capital gains tax, provided it's sold, within 9 months or a year from the date of death. There shouldn't be much growth from the time you die until the time it's sold. So now all the money is preserved. We don't have to deplete any of the money by paying taxes. Now what? Now he's got all this money. Let's say it's $1 million, and we've got 3 kids, and we got to give $333,000 to the other 2 kids. Well, that's a $666,000 gift that this one child needs to make to the other 2 kids. That is a taxable gift to who? To the child making the gift, because the parents didn't design this plan, better to prevent this from happening. So, yes, it's a taxable gift to the giver, not to you, Stacy, not to your siblings. You just simply get the dough, tax-free, income tax-free, gift tax-free. Now, will your sibling have to pay a gift tax? Well, they'll have to file a gift tax return, but good news is they won't have to pay a gift tax. There is no gift tax in Mass. There's a federal gift tax, but you have a $15 million gift tax exemption. But you got to file and eat into that exemption a little bit to use up some of that exemption. So at least you can do it. And in this case, we're kind of dodging some bullets, and we're not going to end up being out of pocket anything. But he is going to eat into his estate tax and gift tax exemption. So thank you.
Mr. Lutsky, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
This has been Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky has been presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 30 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Call 800-393-4001 or visit CushingDolan.com. The views expressed in this segment are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Armstrong Advisory does not provide any legal or tax advice. Please consult with your legal or tax advisor on such matters. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Still quite a bit to get to as we head towards the second hour. We'll talk a little bit about gas prices, also what's going on with the spring housing market. We're also going to talk a little bit more about some of the latest developments around artificial intelligence and what is going on there. And we'll also, one that's near and dear to my heart, we'll talk a little bit about air travel. And, hey, things aren't exactly, great for air travelers right now. We'll ask the question, or rather we'll try to answer the one from the New York Times. Can air travel get any worse? We'll answer that in hour number 2.
Life estates are sometimes used to protect your home as part of your future, but it's important to understand how they really work before making any changes to your estate plan. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation. Their new guide, called Calculating the Consequences of Life Estates, explains the pros and cons and why careful planning is so critical. A life estate can allow you to remain in your home while transferring future ownership. But decisions like putting the property in your children's names versus using a trust can have very different consequences when it comes to taxes, control, and protection from creditors. Before you sign any deed or transfer property, be sure you understand your options. Call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 and ask for your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Have you saved enough for retirement? This is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. The advisors at our firm have 150 years of combined experience in the financial services sector, and they all work together to help you develop a unique financial plan that offers investment management, financial planning, tax strategies, and retirement planning. It's our goal to help you position position your assets and give you peace of mind. Having a solid retirement strategy and investment plan becomes more important as you age, so visit us today at armstrongadvisory.com and sign up for a free, no-obligation planning session. Just click the Get Started button at the top right corner of the homepage, and you can select the day and time that works best for you. Go to armstrongadvisory.com and let us develop a plan to help you secure your financial future. Again, that's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative William Keating are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
Divorce isn't just a legal process. It's a financial reset. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our new guide, Divorce and Your Financial Plan, walks you through how to take inventory of your assets, avoid common mistakes when splitting accounts, update beneficiaries, and start building a plan that works for your next chapter. Divorce is complicated enough without all of its financial ramifications. The decisions you make now can have lasting consequences for your future, because after a divorce, it's not just about who gets what. It's about making sure your financial life is truly separated and set up to support your goals going forward. Call the Armstrong Advisory Group right now at 800-393-4001 and get your free guide, Divorce and Your Financial Plan. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's DAV5K.Boston.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today, we're talking about the use of life estates and your primary residence. Todd, does the 5-year waiting period for Medicaid eligibility apply to the creation of a life estate?
Well, the short answer is yes, it does. But let me explain why it does. So, first of all, when you create a life estate, again, the general way people do it is they tend to put the remainder interest of the property in the hands of children. I don't like it that way, but that's how they do it, when you could have the remainder interest with the trust. But the moment you put the child's name on the deed and you reserve the right to live there is a completed gift for gift tax purposes. No one thinks of that, but now you technically need to file a gift tax return. And it's that creation of the gift, it's that transfer of that remainder interest in the property to the child for less than fair market value that triggers the disqualification period for Medicaid. So that's why you have to wait 5 years after you create this life estate arrangement in order for the house to be protected from the nursing home. It's very hard to avoid the 5-year waiting period, folks. There's really not too many ways around it.
Learn how you can avoid probate, eliminate estate taxes, keep your money in your family, and protect your assets from the nursing home. Request this brand new guide from Cushing & Dolan. It's called Calculating the Consequences of a Life Estate. You can get it by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can simply request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
Chuck, Paul, and Tucker with you here. And if you didn't like yesterday's price action in markets, the good news is that today exists, because it's basically the mirror image of what we saw yesterday. Stocks responding a little bit more firmly to the top side, but we've got the S&P 500 up 53 points right now. The Dow's up 414. NASDAQ Composite up 261, so green on all your major U.S. indices. Taking a look at bonds. 10-year Treasury sold off yesterday, getting bid back up today, down 6.8 basis points to 4.324%. Dollar index basically holding flat at 99.20, down 0.04%. Gold, which has gotten crushed repeatedly over the last few weeks, up $164 an ounce to $45.66 today. And we've got crude oil, West Texas Intermediate, down $3.43 a barrel to $88.92. This on optimism that there's going to be some kind of solution to what's been going on in the Middle East for the last almost 4 weeks now in the near future. Again, if you're just tuning into our show for either the first time or you're kind of looking for our thoughts on things there, my general view remains the same. I don't know exactly how negotiations are going. I hope they're going well, but each side is telling you completely different things, and the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but we don't know exactly where. And so I remain focused not on what each side is saying, but rather on what is actually happening. And to this point, the Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed, with traffic now down, 95 to 97%. There are a few boats that are getting through with the permission of the Iranians at the moment. And you continue to see an awful lot of fighting going on and more U.S. troops inbound. So at this point, optimism that things get better. I do think it's fair to say, things have not worsened in the last week. I think we kind of hit the peak of how bad things were last Wednesday when you had the strikes on the South Pars gas field and the, what's the big Qatar refinery? Ras Laffan, I think it is. Those both got hit on that day, and things have, tamped down a little bit since then. So I do think it's safe to say, hey, things have not continued to escalate any further, and that's a good situation. But the problem is that you still don't have anything meaningful flowing through Hormuz, and that's going to be a problem for as long as it continues.
Yeah, I would say the concerns probably ticked up on Saturday evening when President Trump had mentioned potentially going after some areas in Iran, but then backed away from that. But yeah, in general, largely speaking, there has been, I guess, less news this week on that front, which is a positive.
Let's talk a little bit about gas prices. AAA national average for gas right now at $3.98 3/10, up 0.6 of a cent overnight. Diesel up another 2 cents overnight to $5.36 6/10. But there's a piece from Barron's. Think gas prices are high now. Brace for more sticker shock. And the answer is maybe. And I say maybe because based on where gasoline futures are now, kind of holding, based on where oil futures are, if you can somehow keep oil under 100 a barrel on West Texas Intermediate, you're probably getting pretty close to the peak.
Mm-hmm.
If you get back to 100, again, we're at 88 and change today. You get back to 100, you're probably looking at like $4.15 to $4.20 a gallon. But the case for, gas prices moving up is, look, if Hormuz remains closed for any extended period of time, there are viable paths to gas going north of $5 and potentially even $6 a gallon. That's if Hormuz remains closed for an extended period of time. I don't know if that's going to happen. It could be that you've already seen the worst of gas prices. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily heading back down below $3 a gallon anytime soon. I think there's a really tough putt to get there in the next 12 to 18 months, just based on the damage to facilities throughout the Middle East and what'll happen with supply and demand on the back end of this. So I don't think you have a path back towards like $2.80 a gallon anytime soon on a national basis. But I'm also not sitting here saying you're definitively going to $5 or $6 a gallon because I don't know where you're going to be in a month. There's a case to be made where, hey, if these negotiations are successful, maybe there's improvement over the next couple weeks. There's a case to be made that, hey, maybe both sides are, not really negotiating and just trying to buy time for whatever they want to do next. And if that's the case, and Hormuz is still closed in May, yeah, you could see $5 a gallon there, but I don't have any clue which way we're going to go. And I'm not afraid to admit that. I don't have to be one of these people being like, hey, things are going to get worse, or yo, things are going to get better. Like, sometimes it's okay to just say you don't know and not know.
If you don't know, now you know. The area that I've been just trying to focus on as it pertains to gas, because there is a piece here in the Wall Street Journal that covers how Americans are dealing with higher energy costs. And in particular, the area of focus that I've looked at is what impact that has on consumer spending. And I was trying to look back in 2022, and that's not a great proxy just because there was so much cash flush kind of sitting around at that point in time. But obviously, from a simplistic standpoint to listeners out there, what higher energy costs mean, particularly for lower income families, those are the ones that really it hurts them the most. It just leaves less money for disposable income, for discretionary income to be spent over a period of time. Does $4 a gallon necessarily mean that we see a plummeting of consumer spending? Not necessarily. I do think on those lower income folks, we will see it in short order here over the next few months, and particularly if it lingers on into the summer, then you have sort of peel back on some of those road trips and things like that. But there is not a one-to-one correlation of, hey, gas prices are up. It does make up a small percentage of overall budget. Again, for those people who are living paycheck to paycheck, it is substantial. And then there is the other trickle-down impacts, of course, that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show, that transportation costs are going to go up, food prices go up, and goods delivery goes up just because the input cost on the energy front increase there. But it'll be interesting to see sort of what we see from the impacts on the consumer the longer this persists.
Let me ask both of you, any behavioral changes on either of your sides as a result of higher gas prices?
Yeah, I have oil at the house, and had forgotten that
olive, avocado, what kind?
Don't ask me on those. Jeez, there goes my mic. Don't ask me on those because we all know my grocery store acumen or food acumen is low.
Oh, sure.
But what I do know is that I had locked in a pricing plan with my energy provider. I hope they're not listening. I don't think I had signed the paperwork, but it's locked in, and I'm really gonna make sure that I get that last delivery.
That guy's driving right now.
Son of a bitch. That Paul.
So I'm going to make sure that I get that last delivery because it expires at the end of April. And that is something I never would look at before, but it is a behavior that's changed where I said, all right, I wonder what my pricing plan looks like, and I have one more delivery to go. I'm going to make sure that gets filled up before that lapses in April.
Tuck, what about you?
I have no real behavioral changes in terms of gas because I have to drive here 5 times a week. So it is what it is,
So
gotta deal with it.
I'll tell you what I've personally been doing. My normal gas filling up behavior is I prefer to wait as long as possible, basically until like the light goes on, and then fill up just because I prefer not to go to the gas station if all else being equal. It's just a waste of time, quite honestly.
You around half a tank now as a result?
What's that?
You around half a tank now to refill up as a result of this price hike?
Basically, anytime I pass a station that I see with a good price, I fill up now.
Okay.
It might be depending on the path I'm taking, because the price of gas has been rising, and I'm like, hey, if I fill up today, granted, it's like I'm saving like 10 cents, maybe 50 cents per, trip when it's all said and done. So like it's around the edges. Now that prices have stabilized in this region for a little bit, I'm not going to be quite as aggressive, but again, we'll have to see how things develop, and if we're still sitting here in the same situation a week and a half from now, I probably start, saying, okay, if you pass a station with good prices, I'm going to fill up because I don't know, like, I'm going to hedge that way. Like, that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
I've done a little bit of that, too. Much more focus on looking at what station I stop at, where previously it's a little bit more convenience focus.
Yeah. So that's kind of been the state of play for me. Is like you, Tucker, my driving almost exclusively consists of to and from work. So, there's a piece in the Wall Street Journal about people are canceling road trips. First of all, who goes on a road trip in March?
Not a lot of people.
I guess if you're in like college on spring break, heading down to Florida, I could buy that. But March is not like a great hospitable time to be like, hey, it's March. You want to go see the country?
I mean,
no. I'd rather wait till the weather's better.
You're not considering like 90 minutes to 2 hours a road trip, are you?
No, I can say a road trip for me.
5+ hours.
Yeah, road trip's got to be at least 5 hours, in my opinion. Anything less than that, it's just like a trip that happens to be on a road, not a road trip. Your mileage may vary. Let's take a quick break. When we return, let's see. We've got trivia coming up. That'll be fun. And then let's talk a little bit about the housing market and what we are seeing there. We're right in the middle of the spring housing season right now. What's the deal? We'll tell you after this.
From breaking news to market analysis, follow the Financial Exchange Show on X and watch the show live every day. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
When going through a divorce, understanding the rules around your finances can make a real difference. This is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. State law plays a major role in how assets are divided, whether that means a strict split or a distribution based on what the court considers fair. Health insurance and Social Security benefits are other considerations that you'll need to prepare for. You may have been covered under a spouse's plan and now need to find one of your own, and Social Security may offer benefits based on your former spouse's record. Our new guide, Divorce in Your Financial Plan, will walk you you through these issues and more to help you make informed decisions that may affect your future. Call 800-393-4001 to request your free copy. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Life estates are sometimes used to protect your home as part of your future, but it's important to understand how they really work before making any changes to your estate plan. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation. Their new guide, called Calculating the Consequences of Life Estates, explains the pros and cons and why careful planning is so critical. A life estate can allow you to remain in your home while transferring future ownership. But decisions like putting the property in your children's names versus using a trust can have very different consequences when it comes to taxes, control, and protection from creditors. Before you sign any deed or transfer property, be sure you understand your options. Call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 and ask for your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
It happens all over Massachusetts,
Can you tie my shoes?
in every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Stephen Lynch are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Hear the Financial Exchange every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Keep it here for the latest business and financial news and the trends on Wall Street. The Financial Exchange is now live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange. On this day in 2019, Apple introduced Apple TV Plus, now known simply as Apple TV. On September 10th, 2019, Apple announced that Apple TV Plus would launch on November 1st at $4.99 per month. So our trivia question today, what is the current monthly price of Apple TV? Once again, what is the current monthly price of Apple TV? Be the 8th person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with the keyword trivia, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, the 8th correct response to text us to the number 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with the keyword trivia, will win that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Every week on Wednesdays, the Mortgage Bankers Association puts out their numbers for basically what is going on with mortgage demand in the United States at the moment. Mortgage applications dropped by 10.5% week over week. In particular, the much more highly sensitive refinance index fell about 15%. The purchase index fell by about 5%. And this right as we are entering into the peak of the spring home buying season. I generally think at this point, because it's kind of stretched out a little bit, it really starts in kind of right after the Super Bowl, and it runs through, call it, take your pick of either Memorial Day or Father's Day, like, kind of end of May, early June is kind of when it peaks. But really, the if you look at just from a volume perspective, it's basically April and May are like the big part of it. And so with mortgage rates having moved up over the last, month or so now, you're pretty much looking at a situation where rates are up about 0.5% during that time and trying to see, is that going to have an impact on the spring housing market?
If we looked last year, I believe we were sitting maybe 675 or so slightly down from last year. But as you had mentioned, I think we had eclipsed just below 6% at one point, probably at the end of February would be my guess there. It'll be interesting to see.
Do you mean 7 last? Sorry, this February.
The lowest end we got was like right below 6,
yes.
and then last year at this time, I think we were 675 or something
Yes.
like that. So,
Yep.
More or less within the same range. It did feel like for a few weeks there was some momentum that we would get into the mid-5s area, and that would perhaps maybe juice some of the activity that we would see on the real estate front side of things. But I don't really know if there clearly is not going to be a catalyst from an interest rate perspective that is going to get a lot of buyers out there. It still looks like we are set for more of a tepid real estate market at the moment, but certainly is something that is an area of focus. But I just don't really see any reason why, Chuck, we would hit a more robust housing market this year, or any conditions have changed.
And so it's kind of this dance between all of these different factors, and that, hey, you look at higher interest rates and you say, okay, that's going to depress home prices, all else being equal. But all else isn't equal, because higher interest rates also mean that there are now more people that are mortgage locked in their homes who say, gee, if it's going to be, a 6.5% mortgage to go buy a new place, I'm not going to do it. Whereas when it was, high 5s, maybe I'll list my place. So instead, you see less supply coming on the market. And because of that, maybe prices can hold up better because there's less supply that is out there. But then you look at the other piece, which is, hey, most buyers in this market are also sellers of another property. Most are not first-time home buyers. That percentage is lingering around 30% still. And so it's, okay, if fewer people are listing, then those are fewer potential buyers to come into the market as well, and so does that end up depressing prices. So it's this dance between all of these different factors that you try to look at. And the one thing that I can tell you, anyone who works in the housing industry, when they see mortgage rates moving up 0.5% in a month, they undoubtedly go, oh no. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not what we want to see, especially this time of year. It's one thing if you're seeing this in December. The number of transactions that close in December relative to April and May, it's about 50% as much. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the scale of the difference that you see on a weekly basis. In May and April, you're seeing anywhere from like 70 to 90,000 closings a week. In December, you're seeing like 30 to 40,000.
Right.
And so it's just not the same. Whereas now it's like, oh, is this going to be, a bigger problem? So we'll see what happens there. KB Home, one of the nation's bigger home builders, they did give some new guidance in that they expect their revenue to be significantly lower than they were previously guiding. On the low end, they're now saying revenue is going to be about 5 to 6% below expectations. On the high end, about 10% below. So you're talking like a 5 to 10% lower revenue number for KB Home than they had previously indicated. And I think it speaks to the challenges that home builders are dealing with. And this is before you even get to, some of the new questions about input pricing and things like that that are going to develop over the course of the spring. Because remember, the homes that are, a quarter of the way done or already in progress right now, they may already have, the materials under contract and being delivered. The ones that are starting in the next couple weeks, those are the ones where they might not have contracted for, specific product and services yet, depending on, your subs and how they manage it. And so what do those prices look like and how does it affect construction? Those are big questions out there.
Yeah, KB Home is a build-to-home. They build their homes after securing the sale, so they have a unique perspective in that they see that demand earlier.
So that's what's going on with housing at the moment. Markets remain positive, but a little bit off the highs, but quite volatile from minute to minute here. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we've got the trivia answer in Wall Street Watch.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Lori Trahan are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
When going through a divorce, understanding the rules around your finances can make a real difference. This is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. State law plays a major role in how assets are divided, whether that means a strict split or a distribution based on what the court considers fair. Health insurance and Social Security benefits are other considerations that you'll need to prepare for. You may have been covered under a spouse's plan and now need to find one of your own, and Social Security may offer benefits based on your former spouse's record. Our new guide, Divorce in Your Financial Plan, will walk you through these issues and more to help you make informed decisions that may affect your future. Call 800-393-4001 to request your free copy. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Life estates are sometimes used to protect your home as part of your future, but it's important to understand how they really work before making any changes to your estate plan. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation. Their new guide, called Calculating the Consequences of Life Estates, explains the pros and cons and why careful planning is so critical. A life estate can allow you to remain in your home while transferring future ownership. But decisions like putting the property in your children's names versus using a trust can have very different consequences when it comes to taxes, control, and protection from creditors. Before you sign any deed or transfer property, be sure you understand your options. Call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 and ask for your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hey, this is Mike Armstrong and Paul Lane from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we're here to talk to you about our brand new guide, Divorce and Your Financial Plan. Paul, let's fast forward here a moment. You're through the divorce process, and now you are focused on this entirely new financial life. What do you view as the first step toward developing that new financial plan as you're thinking about a single individual versus a married couple?
What you really have to focus on, Mike, is the cash flows of your household. You've gone from presumably 2 incomes down to 1 income, or you're just living off of a lesser income. So understanding what your expenses are going to be going forward and matching that to the income that's coming in to your newly formed household is really important. That is something that is a area of significant focus, as well as health insurance coverage is another area that is of significant importance.
How are things like taxes and general expenses, how does that all change now if you're thinking about a single person versus a married couple?
Yeah, the tax brackets will change for a single filer versus a married couple, usually to the downside. Really, you're going to pay more in the way of taxes. So that's something that's really important to focus on, as well as many other areas of your financial plan.
Folks, we've got a brand new guide, again, from the Armstrong Advisory Group. It's free, and it's available at armstrongadvisory.com. You can request it there. It's Divorce and Your Financial Plan. There is a lot that goes into rebuilding your financial life after a life event as consequential as a legal divorce. If you have questions about how to navigate that process, this new free guide from the Armstrong Advisory Group is a great starting point. You can get it by requesting it again at armstrongadvisory.com or calling us at 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch, tracking the stocks, the data, and the headlines driving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Equity markets are higher, but seeing some volatility as there is cautious optimism that the U.S. and Iran may be inching closer to a resolution. After the U.S. sent Iran a 15-point plan to end the war. Right now, the Dow is up over 0.75% or 353 points. S&P 500 also up about 0.75%. NASDAQ up over 1% higher or 234 points. Russell 2000 up about 0.5%. 10-year Treasury yield down 7 basis points at 4.316%. And crude oil down about 3%, trading right around $89 a barrel. Shares in chipmaker ARM Holdings rallying 20% after the company unveiled its first in-house chip, saying it would generate $15 billion in revenue by 2031. Elsewhere, Merck agreed to buy biopharma company Terns Pharmaceuticals for $53 per share in cash, valuing the company at $6.7 billion. According to the information, SpaceX could file for an IPO as soon as this week. EchoStar shares are rising 12% on that news as the satellite communications provider has a near 3% stake in SpaceX. And CNBC is confirming that Meta is laying off several hundred employees today across several different organizations within the company, including Facebook, global operations, recruiting, sales, and its virtual reality division, Reality Labs. The information was the first to report the cuts. Meta stock is up about 1% on that news. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch. In the previous segment, we asked you the trivia question. What is the current monthly price of Apple TV? That would be $12.99. Jason from Kingston, New Hampshire, is our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Jason. We play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Got a piece here in the Financial Times. It's titled, Want to Hedge? Start with Yourself.
Look at yourself, man.
Yeah, what's this mean, Paul? How do I hedge myself?
Basically, what it means is oftentimes when you have market volatility, questions will arise. What should I do with my portfolio? And the answer isn't the same for everyone. And I actually was posed this question recently by a client, the same thing. I'm looking at retiring at the end of May. What should I do to change my allocation in my portfolio? And what I said to the client was we need to sit down and examine what your income needs are going to be in retirement before we just blindly make a change to your portfolio. And as a result,
why?
We had a meeting, and we determined this is the amount that's going to need to come out of the portfolio from a withdrawal perspective. Let's build in some mechanisms and take some risk off of your portfolio so that we can facilitate those withdrawals on an annual basis over the next period of years so that not all of your money is subject to equity risk. But that can be different for everyone. That doesn't mean that that situation embodies what everyone should do. There may be other investors out there who have a significant nest egg saved up and they don't need to deviate from their portfolio at all. And in particular, one question that arose when we were talking about hedging is, how do you hedge the portfolio, right? I mean, you can shift stocks to bonds, but there is risks that present themselves with bonds. 2022 is an example of this, where interest rates on the longer end of the curve went up and the shorter end too, but bondholders found themselves in a difficult position. As interest rates rose, the value of their bonds went down. So all of those things, the same thing applies if you're looking to hedge with gold too. You have to be aware of what the drawdowns are on each hedge that you're examining. And these get really put into focus when you have times of market volatility, is where to divert assets. But you have to make sure it makes sense for your situation.
I think the framework that I tend to work from that I find useful is everyone wants to have like the hedge that always performs, which doesn't exist, first of all. But also, you have to remember that the whole point of diversification is that it's designed in theory to mean that over any particular period in time, you don't have either the best returns or the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Diversification is not something where you say, well, I'm diversified, so I'm going to have like great returns. No, that's not what it does. True diversification in a perfect sense is one where, hey, when things aren't going well, you're doing less not well. It's a technical term. When things are doing well, you're doing less well, because the stuff that keeps you from doing, too badly when things are falling apart generally doesn't do great when things are rallying. And I find it, it's not just about looking at this in the context of an investment portfolio. It's in terms of, look, financial planning at its core is all about matching assets to liabilities and when they're going to show up. And so if you have, expenses that you're going to have coming off of, cash needs in the next 1 to 3 years, if you can say, look, I've got this set aside in cash such that what the market does is a non-factor, then that does a lot to just ease your mind in terms of, hey, do I need to do anything in terms of hedging my broader portfolio or setting it up a certain way? Because it's not just the money that's in there that matters. It's, what other assets are there. You can look at this in other contexts. Hey, I've got a property that I'm going to be selling, and that's going to help cover my expenses over the next couple of years because of the cash that I get off of it. Those kinds of things matter as well. So it's not just, hey, what do I have in the IRA or what do I have in the, the brokerage account? It's, hey, what does my total financial picture look like? And that can help you to make better, more informed decisions about these kinds of things. Folks, if you're looking to help answer these questions, if you're a little bit stressed about what's going on and you're like, oh, Chuck, I need some help and I don't want my hair to look like yours because your hair sucks, Chuck, like, please help me. Yes, like, we can do that. We can't help with hair loss. We don't do that. But the Armstrong Advisory Group can help you to sort through your portfolio, sort through your financial planning, and take some stress off your plate and put it onto ours. That's what we do. Phone number to call, schedule a time to chat with someone from our team, 800-393-4001. Again, 800-393-4001. You can also go to armstrongadvisory.com. There's a button there right at the top. It says Get Started. You can schedule a time to chat with someone right online there. Again, that phone number is 800-393-4001, or you can go to armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Paul, there's a piece here in the Wall Street Journal It's titled "They're Rich But Not Famous," and they're suddenly everywhere. And there's just a great stat here that I think encompasses a lot of, kind of what's going on in the world right now. There are about 430,000 U.S. households worth $30 million or more. It's not the full sentence, but I'm just going to stop it there. Because ultimately, like we talk about like the ultra high net worth and their impact on the economy. And I'm more convinced than ever that it's not just like this ultra high, but even, I don't know how many households are worth, 10 million or more, but even like those matter in ways that I think it's kind of hard for us to understand. Because when you hear about like the top 1%, there's about 160 million households in the country, somewhere in that ballpark. Top 1% means 1.6 million households. And the problem is that for 99% of us, we don't have the resources to compete with that top 1%, which means that if they want to go to Disney or a Red Sox game, or they want to go to the Grand Canyon, or they want to travel to Europe, they're willing to pay more than everyone else. And it's one thing when that top 1% is 700,000 households like it was 25 years ago because the population was smaller. But when you're dealing with finite resources, like think about we run our show from New England. The main thing that people love to do in New England in the summer, we want to go to the lake or the beach. We want to go near some water. It cools us down when we get too hot. You can't build more beach or lake. It's not really possible. I mean, it is, but it doesn't go well. Like the ocean eats the extra beach and, so on and so forth. There are more wealthy people now competing for the same finite resources that everyone else likes to enjoy. And I think this is part of the reason why, like, the world feels like you can't do what you used to, is because it used to be, hey, I'm driving up to, Lake Winnipesaukee, or I'm going to, Lake Sunapee up in New Hampshire, and, they weren't crowded, they weren't expensive, and now everyone and their grandmother piles in to try to get like those prime weeks, and it's like, man, I can't go there like I used to as a kid. It's too expensive. And some of this is wealth inequality, but a lot more of it is there's just way more people out there that have those crazy levels of wealth. And there still is only one Lake Winnipesaukee. There's one Disney World. There's one Yankee Stadium. There's one Yosemite National Park. And you just have more people trying to do these things. It's supply and demand.
And in particular, the reason for all that wealth is markets that have performed tremendously over the course of the last decade or so, with the S&P 500 tripling over the last decade. And if you look at that top 1%, or even, the 0.1% of the top 1%, close to 3/4 of their wealth is tied up in corporations like stocks, mutual funds, or private businesses. All of those have seen their valuations soar significantly over the course of the last decade. So it's added more people on that list, creating a really significant population that has a lot of dough and a lot of demand to spend it, which can hurt those other people who are trying to compete in the same waters as them.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll do a little thing we like to call Stack Roulette.
Follow the Financial Exchange Show on Instagram and see what's driving the conversation about Wall Street and economic trends. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Life estates are sometimes used to protect your home as part of your future, but it's important to understand how they really work before making any changes to your estate plan. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and taxation. Their new guide, called Calculating the Consequences of Life Estates, explains the pros and cons and why careful planning is so critical. A life estate can allow you to remain in your home while transferring future ownership. But decisions like putting the property in your children's names versus using a trust can have very different consequences when it comes to taxes, control, and protection from creditors. Before you sign any deed or transfer property, be sure you understand your options. Call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 and ask for your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
As you navigate life after divorce, planning for your family's future becomes even more important. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. From everyday expenses to thinking about how college will be funded, it's important to have a clear plan for how all of your upcoming costs will be handled over time. Divorce also means adjusting to a new financial reality, where one household becomes two and your budget, saving strategy, and long-term goals may need to be reevaluated. Our new guide is called Divorce and Your Financial Plan, and it discusses ways to build a financial strategy that supports your family's next chapter. You can get your free guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Protecting your home at the life estate can be problematic if you don't understand the rules. Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Calculating the Consequences of Life Estates can help you learn about how this strategy works and what to consider. Call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699 and get your guide today. Or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, I'm Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts provides thousands of hours of voluntary services at our VA medical centers and soldiers' homes and is the only DAV department in the country to lead a veterans housing initiative for both single veterans and those with families. These programs are critical to serving our veterans in their time of need. You can help our great American heroes by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
The Financial Exchange Show podcast drops every day on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. You're listening to the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV 5K raised over $150,000 last year, but we still need your help. You can support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. Your participation helps provide vital services like free transportation to medical appointments and safe housing. For single veterans and their families, donate today at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Paul, for Stack Roulette, I want to talk about this piece from the New York Times. The lines, the prices, the anxiety. Can air travel get any worse? The answer is yes. It can always get worse. And I maintain, actually, that, look, I know that no one likes to wait in, a 3-hour security line, and no one likes to see what's going on with airfares right now as jet fuel prices have gone up significantly in the last couple of weeks. But I maintain that air travel, for all of the problems with it, it's still a pretty miraculous, it's a pretty amazing thing that, we have tens of thousands of flights every day in the U.S., depending on the day, anywhere from 20 to 40,000 flights a day in the U.S. They basically all get where they're going within a few hours of when they're supposed to, except for when there are, big weather things that are going on. And again, generally, the safety record is unparalleled relative to any other form of travel out there. And so, yes, I get that if you're, trying to shop for, an April vacation flight right now, you're like, man, these prices look nuts. Totally get that. If you are listening to us in line at a TSA checkpoint right now where you've been for the last 3 hours, I'm sorry. It's not, I can't do anything about it. It's not, something I can help with.
You can't phone a friend?
No, I can't. But ultimately, like, you ask anyone who lived 100 years ago if they thought any of this would even be possible, and they'd be like, no, that sounds insane that you can spend like a few $100s to fly 3,000 miles over the course of, 6 hours and you'll get where you're going with basically 100% certainty. That's pretty amazing. So I remain, still pretty in awe of air travel. I know that it's kind of sucky right now because, again, on a more micro level, hey, you took 3 days off and half of one day is, chewed up waiting in a TSA line. I get that kind of sucks. But big picture, I still am very, very much kind of that I'm still in awe of air travel overall, even if right now it's not good.
Chuck and I were just talking off air, flying in middle of April, so I do hope that this gets resolved within the next week or so, because TSA workers have been without pay for 5 weeks during this partial government shutdown, and they've called out at record rates, and more than 450 have quit. And I recall on a prior show we looked at just what compensation that they get typically, and I believe around the Boston area where we broadcast out of, the average salary was around $60,000. So these are people who really can't go without missing paychecks, and this is on the backs of a government shutdown earlier this year that had those people without paychecks for a pretty substantial period of time. So hopefully this can be resolved in short order here for all of us who are flying over the course of the next month or so as April break approaches. Chuck, I want to talk a little bit about OpenAI and Sora Video, which is now no more. OpenAI had released Sora, which was a AI video generation app that had come out, I believe it was in December of 2024, but just last night the news was announced that they will no longer pursue this video app and try to focus more on the business side of things. It's interesting because Anthropic has made much more headwinds in business case use, and it was always the view that OpenAI and ChatGPT would sort of be the consumer side of things, but now a lot of sentiment from OpenAI coming out there more focused on the business side of things, clearly trying to strive for profitability, or not becoming profitable, but growing their profitability by getting rid of initiatives that aren't making them any money.
Yeah, and I think the latter piece is the big thing, which is, look, in order for OpenAI to make, a 10-second video of a cow
me in a Toy Story
bobsledding
costume,
yes,
dressed up like Woody, because
yes,
that's the.
In order for them to do that, it takes a ton more compute than to, answer a few simple questions or even, run some kind of agentic AI script. So it's just the sheer, like, here's the way I look at it. If you have a computer at home, go into, whatever your file explorer is and look at how big a Word document is in terms of size, and then look at how big, Independence Day is, the movie, in terms of size, and you're going to be like, oh, gee, like, yeah, I didn't realize that, 2 hours of video is 2 gigabytes, and yet 200 pages of text is like 3 megabytes.
Right.
It's just video. There's so much data that needs to be stored there. And so I think this very much is OpenAI trying to figure out, hey, can we, cut the expense rate that we have as far as, how much we're running up on, computing costs, and redirect that into something that we can actually charge for, that people will pay for, and that can be profitable. So I think that's very much what is going on here. As we wrap things up for the day, markets remain in positive territory. Major indices up anywhere from about 0.2% to 0.5%. We don't often reference 0.6%, but we did today. And so tune in tomorrow, and who knows what we'll reference then that we never have before.